Hello there, I'm Gary Newbon. I am the Eventmasters Sports Ambassador. In this racing special, my guest will be the top jockey Nico de Boinville. Now, Nico will be very familiar, I hope, with clients for the last 2 years at the Silks facility by Eventmasters at the Cheltenham Festival. He gives his selections before racing and then comments afterwards, and he's got a pretty good record so far, both in the saddle and giving his selections. So I am delighted to be reunited with my Silks partner, that's Nico de Boinville, who is, of course, Nicky Henderson's #1 stable jockey. Nico, how have you been coping with this virus?
Look, I've been in a very fortunate position. We live out in the country. My wife has a stud on her parents' farm, and I've just been working away doing that.
Have you been able to ride very much?
I haven't ridden a racehorse since lockdown started, but I've been riding a couple of the ponies at home. But look, we're all just trying to make the most of it, and I really do feel for people who are stuck in flats or houses in the city and things like that.
You don't look as if you have a weight problem.
No, I've never really had a problem with my weight, but obviously going from, we're very busy throughout our days racing, so we don't get to eat that much anyway. So, having all day at home isn't ideal. So the body's not really used to that, but we just try and monitor it and keep tabs on it.
And when will you be racing again?
Hopefully, all being well, July the 1st. It really does depend on what the government is saying and letting us do. But I think it's going to be fairly safe on the race course. And France has managed to do it. Loads of countries around the world have managed to keep racing going. So I'm hoping we can put a bit of a spectacle on and entertain people at home.
Do you think that it's easier with racing than football? Because there's no physical contact, or shouldn't be, between the jockeys. And you presumably have masks on anyway. And the crowd, for much of the race, there isn't any crowd behind you. So it'd be interesting to see how it compares with other sports behind closed doors.
Of course. I was kind of hoping that football would lead the way, really, and get going as soon as they could. But obviously, there are a few issues here and there.
Yeah.
But I think it's fairly similar, although racing isn't a contact sport where, I think hopefully it should be able to keep sort of a meter or 2 meter distance. And when you're riding, you're out in the fresh air anyway. And, it would just be a case of the changing rooms and making sure that we're, keeping, social distancing and being safe there.
Do you think they'll let you use the showers? Will that be a problem?
At the moment, no. We have got the odd thing filtered through, but a very good friend of mine rides out in France, and he's been telling me what they've had to do, and they're not allowed to use showers. They have to wear masks whilst they're racing, and at all times on the track, they have their temperatures taken the moment they walk onto the course. So they're very strict over there, and I imagine we'll be sort of having the same sort of guidelines over here.
You and I were working together for Eventmasters at Cheltenham. We were worried about the virus. Have jockeys, and we know a lot of the public have, I mean, quarter of a million people over 4 days, as if nobody seemed to take much notice of it. Have the jockeys suffered from that? I know you're clear, but have the jockeys?
Yes. You and I were both doing that box, for Eventmasters, and we were fully aware of it. But, around Cheltenham, I don't think people quite expected what was, coming the next week and what was going to happen. It almost felt like a last hurrah, really, of, before everyone was locked down. But yeah, a few of my colleagues have come down with it, and but we're lucky. We're fairly lean. We're fit and healthy, and we seem to have just brushed it off. But yeah, no, we've been affected just as much as the rest of the population.
Now, you have a very unusual English jockey's name. What is your full name?
So my full name is Nicolai Chastel de Boinville.
And
it's quite a mouthful. It's not really what you expect of a jockey, but
no, but
we deal with it.
Where's it come from?
So it comes from Lorraine on the French-German border, and we came here during the French Revolution.
Your father's, though, called Simon. I thought that was a fairly English name, is it? Or is that a French name?
No, well, my father's mother, my grandmother, was Scottish, and he's got a few Scottish names linked in there as well.
Yeah. And your daughter, Harriet, and yourself, obviously man and wife. Your daughter,
Serena.
yeah, but she's got that Castellan as well, I think, isn't she?
Serena and my daughter do, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, great. Right, let's talk about how you started, Nico. You went to boarding school, and then you went to the university at Newcastle on Tyne. You were studying politics, but 1 year later, what happened?
Well, I didn't last long in doing my course of history and politics. I only did 6 weeks there. It really wasn't for me. Sometimes university isn't, and you just, feel that you've got a path to go down, and getting a degree wasn't mine. I had a very good mentor at the time in a man called Richard Gibson, who I spent my gap year out in France with. He now trains out in Hong Kong. And he just said, you've got to follow what you believe is right for you. So a year later, I ended up at Seven Barrows joining Nicky Henderson's stable.
You really broke through. Would it be 2014 when you broke through?
2014, yes, I suppose. Yeah, I was, all throughout my sort of early years there, I was known as Sprinter Sacre's work jockey, work rider rather. And yeah, it wasn't until sort of 2014 that I really sort of got going and started banging in a few winners.
But 2015, the Cheltenham Gold Cup, what happened there for you?
That was just that was massive for my career. Going into the professional ranks, I had been a conditional for that season, and I'd ridden out my claim. I was very fortunate that I'd teamed up with the Bradstocks, and I was allowed to ride Coneygree through that year, and which culminated in a win in the Cheltenham Gold Cup, which is everyone's dream, and particularly doing it at the age of 25 was a good thing to happen for me, and it just seemed to be a springboard going forward.
Aintree hasn't been so good for you, though. Obviously, you've had two falls and a pull-up in the Grand National race. Is that important to you, or is it about Cheltenham as far as you're concerned when you look at your career?
Aintree has been good to me. I've ridden a lot of winners there and some Grade 1 winners as well. Just the Grand National, I probably haven't been on the right ones, and it seems to be that sort of race, and you just have to get on the right horse with the right sort of profile. For us, really, it's Cheltenham is what it's all about, and Aintree comes after, and you take the same sort of horses to Aintree and try and win with them there. And if you have a nice spin in the Grand National, then that's great. But it's not something that I lose sleep about.
No, but the Grand National is the glamour one for the public, isn't it? The housewives' bet goes around the world, and in the old days, long before your time, the winner used to go and appear at the Sunday night at the Palladium the next day. It was a big thing, and I suppose it is still a big thing with big ratings, really.
I think it's a massive draw for the public, and it's a big shop front window for our sport. I mean, if you think how many people tuned into the virtual Grand National, and that's effectively just a cartoon.
Yes.
So it is massive, and horses like Tiger Roll and Many Clouds, they have got great sort of backstories and trained and owned by great people, and they definitely they do great things for our sport, and yeah.
It'd be nice to add it to your list of successes, though, wouldn't it?
Of course it would, but the stars really do have to align in the right way for it to happen.
Yeah. Right, let's look at some of the great horses that you've ridden. Sprinter Sacre. What do you think about him?
Fantastic horse. I owe that horse, my, all that I've done really. He taught me so much from being a young sort of 20-year-old into how great horses should feel, how they should behave, how they should jump. And through that 2013 season where he was mopping up the floor with everything, and Barry Geraghty had a great relationship with the horse, and it was just great to be part of that story, just as riding him at home and schooling him and getting him ready for Barry to get on the big day. And I actually went over to Punchestown when he won out there, and that was a a day that I'll always remember. You know, the Irish crowd gave him such a reception. It was magical to be there.
And Altior, 19 consecutive wins, then goes and loses last November, but bounces back with a winner. I've always admired that horse. You must love him, Altior.
I absolutely adore the horse. You know, I was the first one to sit on him. You know, I helped break him in with Corky Brown, our head lad. And it's just been a great story so far. You know, 19 races unbeaten, which is a record consecutively over obstacles. Yeah, he's just a phenomenal racehorse, and you know, perhaps we've still got a few more things to do on him, and hopefully he can come out this season and you know, really propel himself into, you know, good things. And you know, there's still a page or two unwritten with him, I'd say.
Yeah, it was disappointing for the 2020 Cheltenham when he had to pull out fairly late because of injury.
Yeah, I mean,
Probably would have gone well.
Yeah, the champion chase at
Yeah.
the 2020 festival was shaping up to be the race of the festival, really. And then we pulled out a day before after having had a brilliant prep. It was absolutely gutting. And then poor Willie Mullins, his horse Chacun Pour Soi, pulled out the morning of the race. So it didn't quite develop into what we all thought it would be. But all credit to Paul Nicholls and Harry Skelton and John Hales, you know, with Politolog. It was great to see them do that.
Yes, that was indeed. Might Bite. Might
Might
Bite.
Bite. He always brings a smile to everyone's face, particularly mine. You know, he's got his own mind. He likes to do things his way, and again, he's had some tremendous things. You know, winning a King George on him was definitely a day I'll always remember. And yeah, what he did at Cheltenham, you know, ducking out in the RSA and still managing to win, you know, it was incredible. And I think everyone will still remember his clash in the Cheltenham Gold Cup with Native River.
Two other horses just quickly, Santini and Shishkin.
Santini, it took me a few weeks to get over that, to recover from that, really, you know, going down by such a short head to Album Photo, but all credit to them. Look, he's only had 6 races over fences. I think the Gold Cup this year would definitely have made a man of him. He went through the race incredibly well, jumped superbly, and maybe we just lacked a bit of a touch of toe at the time. But look, all credit to him. It was a fantastic run, and we're all very proud of him and very happy for him. As for Shishkin, he could be anything really. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong throughout the race, and in the way he finished as well. And I still felt he had a bit more left underneath me at the time. So look, he could be anything, and I'm hoping that we'll go over fences this year.
Now, we talked about the Grand National, but let's talk about the American Grand National, because you have won that one. What do you recall of that?
I have won a national, so yeah.
Yes, well done.
Exactly. The American Grand National is very, very different to anything we have over here. It's effectively 40,000 people crammed into a point-to-point field, but it's incredibly well run. The Americans are really enthusiastic about the sport. And you get some good horses there. And this year, you know, the likes of Wicklow Brave turned up. And I knew that my job was just to, you know, he was the one I had to beat, really. You know, we had a game plan going out there. Michael Buckley, Brain Power's owner, was out there for us as well. And it had been his dream for a long time to go and win races over in America. He'd had them, you know, a few years back, and he wanted to do it now. And it's an amazing pot they put on for us. And it's well worth winning. It was just a shame how, you know, Wicklow Brave dived at the last and fell, and unfortunately, you know, was fatally injured. And it probably just took the shine off it slightly. And probably Brain Power didn't. I don't like to say it, but Brain Power probably didn't quite get the credit he deserved, you know, because he ran a fantastic race as well.
He did indeed. I just want to test you here. Patricia Pugh's horse Altior. It's a Latin word. Did you know that?
I do know that, yeah.
And do you know what it means?
I think it's the highest.
Correct. Oh, trying to trip you up there. No good. Let's move on.
Altitude, yeah. Altior, yeah.
Highest,
exactly.
yeah. Now, you've been ambassador for Eventmasters on the racing front with 2 very successful years with their clients. How have you found that? I mean, it's something new for you.
It is something new, but I've been under your tutelage, Gary, and that's made it a heck of a lot easier than, what some things. I haven't just had a microphone chucked in my hand. I've had a very good person.
Well, that's
A good interview needs a good interviewer, and I've been very lucky that I've had you alongside me, Gary.
Do you fancy that as a job eventually?
Do you know what? Anything media does interest me, definitely.
Yeah.
And I hear things from you and stories from you of the great people you've interviewed and throughout your career, and it does fascinate me and interest me. I'm at the moment I'm hooked on The Last Dance on Netflix. Categorizing the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan and that kind of thing. Fascinates me. The mindset of sportsmen and sports people.
Yeah. Well, I'm also interested in the way that you really put some effort into this tipping thing with studying the cards. I mean, are you a real form fanatic?
It's one of those where throughout the year because you're so involved in it, you're riding in most of the races, most of the horses, and you just pick it up as you go along, and it actually doesn't require as much work as you'd possibly think because it's the information's in your head already.
Yeah.
And they do say if you can talk about anything, talk about something you know about, and I guess that's something I know about.
Yeah, well, you certainly do, and you've tipped a few winners. Just interested in Nicky Henderson, who I find a very interesting guy. His godfather was Field Marshal Montgomery because his own father, Johnny Henderson, was the adjutant to the Field Marshal. But he always strikes me as an interesting guy. What's he like to work for?
He's fantastic. I've worked for him for a third of my lifetime now,
Yeah.
which is amazing to think. And he's been everything to me and getting my career going. And I wouldn't be anywhere without him. And I think we have a very strong working relationship, a very honest relationship. We can say our truths when they need to be said, and it's you're always talking about horses. It's always developing. So no, I wouldn't be anywhere without the man.
The trainer has to have real confidence in the jockey, of course. But football matches, they say, are often won in training. Boxing is certainly training's an important part. Is the preparation really done? I mean, you talk to the owners and the trainer before the race, but is the race pattern really decided before then?
The race, not so much, but the way that you prepare your horse is key as well.
Yeah.
I have to have full confidence in my boss, who trains the horses I ride for, and I have to believe that they are prepared and fit and ready for that day. Grade ones are so hard to win, and the horses have to be so finely tuned. They're incredible athletes. It's effectively like training Usain Bolt for an Olympics, but you're doing it sort of 5 times a year instead of once every 4 years. So yeah, no, it's a great team environment, and I'm just a small cog in a massive wheel, but I like to play my part.
You certainly do play that, and the owners are so important as well. I mean, they need to be respected highly as well because they're paying the bills at the end of the day.
Without a doubt, the owners need to be fully confident behind their jockey, and they're the ones who fund us. They're the ones who pay our bills, and effectively they're the ones who employ us for every race. And we owe them an awful lot in providing us these wonderful horses to go and work with.
Have you been reasonably injury free, Nico? I mean, it's such a dangerous sport. Have you been?
I've had my fair share. I've broken a few things. I smashed my arm up at the November meeting at Cheltenham in 2016, and that was pretty bad. That took 3 months to come back from. I broke my thumb, smashed my cheekbone in. I actually don't have much of a cheekbone anymore.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Luckily, I was married before that happened.
Serena, does your wife, does she worry a lot about that?
Obviously it's going to be a worry, but I think she has to get used to it because I'm riding most days, and
Yeah.
the way she does it is that she thinks that I've got complete faith in. I know what I'm doing, and I'm not going to put myself in over risking anything. So yeah, that's the way that she gets her head around it.
Good. Monbeg Legend, of course, is owned by Eventmasters and the Sheesbys.
Yeah.
You've had you've won twice on that at Ludlow and Stratford, and you were
Yeah.
second in an unfestival race at Cheltenham. The horse at the moment, hoping to come back. It hasn't raced since June 2019. First of all, what about the horse?
He's a lovely horse. I've loved him from day one, really. And it's great to have, Mark and Denise there with us who they're great riding for as well. They're very understanding and they know about the sport. And Monbeg Legend is just a pleasure to ride. I've always loved him, and he's a horse that likes faster ground, so he's always going to be at his best through the summer rather than through the depths of winter. And look, when racing gets back going, he'll be ready to go.
Good, and a few more wins in it, we hope.
Definitely should be, yeah.
Okay, how long do you think you'll be able to keep riding for? Nico, what are you, 30 now?
I'm only 30.
Yeah.
The way jockeys go at the moment, we got lads riding at 40 plus. So
Good.
We'll see. I'm very sort of open to things, and if I'm fully dedicated to my job, and I love it as well. I at the moment I don't want to go and get a proper job. I love what I do, and it's a great sport to be around.
The last thing any of us want is a proper job, Nico. We're all lucky on that. Thank you so much, mate. Great interview, and lovely talking to you. Thank you.
And you, Gary. Thank you very much for that.